Hi guys, and welcome to factoring using special products. Okay, so when we have quadratics, there are just a couple special ones that we can factor using kind of a shortcut method. And so if we notice that the quadratic we're given looks like one of these, looks like a squared minus b squared, or it looks like a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, or a squared minus 2ab plus b squared, if we see that our given quadratic looks like this, okay, then we don't have to do any of the work to factor it, really. We can just kind of jump straight to the answer using these special rules. Okay, so let's look at some examples of this. So for the first kind, for a squared minus b squared, you might have something that looks like this. You might see, say, x squared minus 9, right? So this is something squared minus something else that's squared. So that would factor into a plus b times a minus b, okay? So in this case, a would be x and b would be 3, okay? Because the square root of x squared is x and the square root of 9 is 3. So x squared minus 9 is going to factor into x plus 3 times x minus 3, okay? We could also look at another example, okay? It doesn't just have to be plain old x squared there, but what if we had, say, we could have 4x squared minus 25, okay? So here, our a is going to be 2x, right? Okay, because the square root of 4 is 2. Okay, square root of x squared is x. So we're going to have 2x plus the square root of 25, which is 5. So we're going to have 2x plus 5 times 2x minus 5, okay? So those are kind of the two problems that we would kind of look at and immediately say, I know how to factor these without making the x or without making the box or without having to kind of go through any more of the arithmetic than just what we've done here, all right? So now let's look at an example of the second kind here, okay? So the second kind, we've got a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Now that doesn't mean in your example that you're going to see a 2 in this spot right there. This means that it's going to be 2 times whatever a is and whatever b is. Okay, so here, we will look at an example of that. So let's say that we have x squared plus 6x plus 3. 9. Actually, make that a 9. Apologize. Make that a 9. Okay. So you have x squared plus 6x plus 9. Okay. So you kind of recognize these by, can I take the square root of this last thing? Can I take the square root of c right there? Okay. So the square root of 9 is 3. Okay. And so b is going to be 3. Okay. A is going to be x, and then 2ab would be 2 times x times 3, which would give us the 6x here. So this is really just about recognizing the special product. We haven't actually done anything yet. Okay, so now when we factor this is going to factor into a plus b squared. Okay, so remember, a is just going to be the square root of x, which is just x, and then b is going to be the square root of 9, which is 3. Okay, and then you can just imagine, say, foiling this out, right, when we distributed. So you would end up having x squared plus 3x plus another 3x, and that's going to give you your 6x plus 9. All right, so that's what these are going to look like. You can also use this for ones that do have leading coefficients here as well, but we're not going to look at an example of that because those are just as easy to do with the box, really. It's kind of harder to recognize those. So if you ever do recognize one, you are welcome to use it, but don't feel so required to kind of recognize those. It's not as important that you can recognize those. Okay, so here let's do another example. So we can look at, for example, x squared minus 12x plus 36. And I want to stop right here for a second, and I want to make sure that you realize that this has to be a plus. If both of these are minus, then we cannot use one of these special products, because remember, what this is going to give us is we're going to be multiplying the last number that we put here, we're going to be multiplying that times itself. Okay, so if it was negative, then we would multiply a negative times a negative, and that still gives us a positive. Okay, so for these special products, the last term does have to be positive. Okay, so we recognize this, we say, 36, perfect square. I can take the square root of that. The square root of 36 is 6. So we say, fantastic. Does 6 times 2 equal the 12 we have here? Why, yes, it does. So this means we can use our special product. Okay, we can use that this is just going to factor straight into a minus b squared. Okay, so let's do that. Again, a here for us is just going to be plain old x. Okay, and then we're going to have minus, and then the square root of 36 is 6, so this is going to factor into x minus 6 squared. And those are the special products that we have, and we can use to give ourselves some shortcuts.